This episode is brought to you by the American Red Cross. The start of the new year is one of the most challenging times to collect blood products. Severe winter weather can often lead to widespread blood drive cancellations. But you can be the life-saving difference this January and make an appointment to give now. In the hour it takes to donate blood, you can help save the lives of patients in Denver and across the country. To download the Red Cross Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to make an appointment. Today on CityCast Denver, Mayor Johnston has confirmed Denver officially put in a bid to host the 2028 Democratic National Convention. But is the city ready for such a big political event? Then a new grocery chain is coming to Colorado, meaning more competition. Could it also mean better prices? Me and a Fave regular are talking about the big stories of the week, plus sharing some of your comments. Today is Tuesday, January 13th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Westward Editor-in-Chief Patty Calhoun, good morning.
Good morning, Bree.
Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
So I have to say, I was just at the, quote, new Dozens location, which has been there for a year and a half over the weekend. I had not been there. It's so cute.
I know it's great that they found a new spot. I loved their old 13th Avenue spot.
I did too, but I have to say this new spot they have captured that like kind of quirkiness. I know my husband was talking to one of the owners, John, and he said he bought a bunch of photos from El Chapultepec and put them up. So it's like, it's a cool, quirky little multi-level space.
And it replaced one of the weirdest named restaurants ever, the Greedy Hamster.
Yeah. Which I have to say I never went to in part.
I'm sorry to say I didn't either. Greedy Hamster doesn't do it.
No, the name didn't do it for me. But if you have not been back to Dozens, it's the same. It's my favorite brunch place. Their food is beautiful. It's delicious brunch food. And a lot of the same folks were still working there.
And let me also say that guy, John England, who runs it, is very involved, a frequent commenter on many, many issues, including the food scene.
He was sort of sitting center table when we walked in with a bunch of folks. So he and I think it's his wife are definitely there all the time. But the food was just as good as ever. So,
I mean, literally a mom and pop place.
Yes.
You're glad to see it downtown.
Absolutely. Still right by the Populous. So, if you have no folks staying there, have them wander over and get brunch. It was great. Well, we talked about this a little last week, but it's finally confirmed. Denver will put in a bid to host the 2028 DNC. Mayor Mike Johnston's office confirmed on Friday that the city is putting in an official bid. You all, Westward, reported back in October that this might be happening.
Right, because we had heard that there was a move afoot. And we talked to Elbra Wedgeworth then. And Elbra and the late Steve Farber.
Former city councilwoman.
When she was still on city council, and I think at the time she was the president of city council.
Okay.
But she had worked with Steve Farber, the very politically connected lawyer, to fund it, bring it here. And the effort was unbelievable because I ran into her shortly after I heard this rumor. And she said, yeah, good luck to them because it was so great, but it's a lot of work and you've got to get the money.
Yeah, I was going to say a Denver in 2008 versus a Denver in 2028 is a very different place.
Well, think about 2008 when the economy was about to tank
rough,
too.
Yes.
So it was rough. And you think about what it would mean to bring it back and the attention you get. I certainly think it's a good time for Colorado to push. And it might be a good year for Colorado, for the Dems in general.
What do you think about that? We talked about this a little last week too, is like the Dems are not necessarily unified at this point in Colorado, but this is a big deal if it were to happen.
It would definitely unify them. And when you think about it, we are very close in the House now to the Dems being able to tie, if not take over from the Republicans nationally. So we've got a couple of different districts that are going to be in play in 2026, and they could be in play in 2028. So even though the odds of Colorado going for a Republican candidate for president are very slim, not knowing what the lineup is, but lucky guess, they're slim, Congress could make a difference here.
Yeah, and I wonder if this will be, if maybe those races bring us the boost we need, or Democrats the boost we need, I should say, in terms of getting excited at this, because at this juncture, I'd say there's just a lot of division within the party about how it feels about itself and something this big.
Well, remember, there was plenty of division back in 2008
What
too.
was it like then? Because I have to say, I was voting, but I wasn't politically engaged in that. I was like caring about the DNC, but you were covering this.
We were covering it. And remember, it was come from behind. Barack Obama, at the start of that year, no one really thought he would be the candidate. So you see how he came up and went ahead of, say, Joe Biden and others who are much more the usual suspects. I mean, was it Edwards? Was it Clinton? Hillary Clinton? I mean, all the different people who were out there, and some new candidate really came forward and captured the imagination. And that could well be the case again in 2028 when people are tired of the old guard.
Yeah, that's a good point too, that this is really the energy around it could be a lot about the national conversation around the Democratic Party.
Right. And it's not a bad thing to be a renegade state right now in the sense of defying the feds, although who knows how far that will go.
Let's talk about that in a minute. But I do just want to say, Denver reports that the 2008 DNC brought $266 million in economic benefit to the metro area and $150 million to the city. Chicago estimates the economic benefit of hosting it in 2024 brought them $371 million. Are we ready for that kind of activity? I'm thinking about what's going on downtown right now.
I would say call any restaurateur and they are ready for that. I mean, what they reported on what their take was when the DNC was in town was incredible. Like late night parties, late night dinners, all these fabulous things, which is exactly what the restaurant industry needs now as a boost.
I'm also hoping by that time, if we do get it, we will have some of those late night spots open.
That's true. Well, maybe they'll just stay open later for it and then they'll get in the habit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We were just reading about Levin Deli expanding to a big location down, it's
on California.
All eyes on 16th Street too.
Well, and they're going to be off, right, on California.
Yeah.
The other thing, we covered the protests. And at the time, I mean, there was like a gulag set up for protesters. So this is something we would really be following very closely.
Let's talk about that really quickly, because that was what came to my mind when we said 2008 DNC was when you said gulag, you mean there was like sort of a roundup area that the Denver police were putting some folks, right? What happened?
Right. They were putting them, protesters who were in the wrong spots, into this like gulag on the Platte, I think is what we called it. And then they realized they couldn't really do that. But the protest, the free speech area was fenced off. I understand you've got to do that in some cases, but I'd invited a bunch of alternative journalists to stay at my house because it was very close to where the Pepsi Center was. But by the time you walked through all the mesh that was over Spear Boulevard to get to the ball arena, the Pepsi Center at the time, you had walked a mile at least. It was not as easily accessible as I'm guessing. It would be nice to make it a little more accessible.
I wonder how that's going to play out too if we do get it.
Well, security probably is going to be tighter than it was then, but maybe a little more careful for the free speech areas, like to endorse that more. I think the Democrats really need to do that.
What do you think our chances are?
I don't think our chances are bad. I mean, I think you don't normally get them that often. I mean, our last one was in 1908. Then we got 2008. We'd be cutting it really close to get it 20 years later. But other cities have done it. And I think it would be a good move by the DNC nationally to say, we're coming out west. It's a place where we can win in the middle of a lot of red states, maybe sway some people.
Get the energy going. Okay, before we move on to some other stories, you had mentioned Trump, and we talked about this last week on the show, his lasering in on Democratic cities, especially in light, unfortunately, of the murder of Renee Good in Minneapolis. You said over the weekend, I mean, I saw a protest downtown actually at the Capitol, but you said that the GoFundMe had raised something like $1.5 million.
I read today they had stopped the GoFundMe. The family had said cut it off because they'd asked for $50,000 to help pay for the funeral costs and things like that. They'd gotten up to $1.5 million.
Wow.
And then they said, we're done. Don't.
Yeah.
So let's see what they do with the $1.5 million. It's interesting. I don't think I've yet heard anything from Trump on Renee Good's connections to Colorado. As we know, at the end of the year, he was all about Colorado, bad governor, sleazebag, won't release Tina Peters. That was his excuse for vetoing the Arkansas Viaduct conduit. It was his excuse for not giving the federal money for the disaster areas. He has for pulling NCAR. I mean, There were a lot. Now, the child care, we weren't the only state that lost money, although it doesn't really make sense because so far we've seen we have not had
any fraud
here that they've
claimed,
tied to us. Minnesota wins that one. But
yeah, it's I have to say, so the Colorado connection, again, for folks who maybe don't know, is Renee Good was from here. She just happened she'd moved to Minnesota recently, most recently
from Kansas City.
From Kansas, yeah.
So she'd grown up in Colorado Springs, and there was a lot of talk about her, and she'd been married twice, had 2 boys by her first husband, girl by the second husband, who I think was killed in Afghanistan. If I'm right, that's a little vague. Now she's a female partner in Minnesota, and her 6-year-old kid was there going to school.
It's so rough. What do you think about Trump's laser focus on? Oh, well, you know what? Actually, what I want to ask you about is Governor Polis said last week that maybe Tina Peters' sentence was a little harsh.
It looked to me like he was really trying to thread the needle. And I can say this, every media outlet went to the governor's office to ask him to expand on those comments he made to CBS 4. And so far, he hasn't expanded on those comments. So whether maybe they weren't as thought out as he wanted them to be, or they want some more evidence of maybe how this was more harsh. 9 years did seem like a lot, but on the other hand, she's not going to be in for 9 years unless she is a very, very bad prisoner. She is a public official who broke Colorado state laws that she, of all people, should have been aware of. And as both the prosecutor, who's a Republican, and the judge said, she showed no sign of realizing she'd done anything wrong.
Interesting. And so this is all going back to Trump because he was really pushing for her release.
Oh, he said he's fully pardoned her, which he can't do because she was convicted on state charges. If he can't do that, he wants her transferred to a federal prison, which also you can't do in some circumstances, but Polis had shown no signs of wanting to do. So I would say it's not impossible that Polis will do an entire look at sentencing, because there have been issues brought up about sentencing. And we had the Colorado Supreme Court decision on municipal sentences that were harsher than state sentences. And the state Supreme Court said you can't do that. So sentencing might be an issue anyway this year at the legislature. They're going to have to deal with that.
Tina Peters would be an interesting case, though, to take up for this issue, especially for criminal justice advocates.
Other people that are more worthy than she is of having their sentences reduced before people don't think it's caving in to Trump. But it could just be that he's threading the needle and trying to see what he can do behind the scenes while he tries to get some money back for Colorado.
And Attorney General Phil Weiser said last week that he feels that a lot of these moves by Trump are repercussions or his revenge against Colorado for continuing to hold Tina Peters.
Sure. And of course, Colorado is not the only state that suffered, but we have been name checked. I mean, Polis has been called a sleazebag by Trump. He has specifically talked about Tina Peters. He told Politico specifically at the end of December that he had vetoed Lauren Boebert's bill, of all things.
Yes.
Because of Tina Peters.
And that was the water bill you were talking about earlier.
From the Western Slope to southeastern farmers, ranchers, 50,000 people who would get clean water. And so that was Lauren Boebert's bill that Trump said he vetoed because of Tina Peters. Lauren Boebert also said, I hope it's not because of my position on Epstein.
What do you think about that?
I don't think it's because of Lauren Boebert's position on Epstein.
Okay. I saw Hickenlooper doing some social media fodder about the veto on the water bill as well.
It could certainly be punishing Colorado and trying to put pressure on the entire delegation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. I'm just interested in general to watch Boebert's relationship with Trump as this year goes on based on what's happening.
Well, absolutely. With that veto and with more power to her for standing up on Epstein.
So let's move on to another story. It's a little lighter, but I think it's kind of interesting. The grocery store chain Aldi is coming to Denver. We just learned today. Axios reported that the grocery chain plans to add around 50 stores to Denver and Colorado Springs. It's the country's fastest growing grocery chain. Patty, do you think Denverites will go as bananas for this as they did for Trader Joe's when that came here in 2014?
Having never been to an Aldi, I can't tell you for sure. We wrote that story on Monday also. It's out of a huge move of 180 grocery stores that Aldi is opening around the country.
Whoa.
50 are supposed to be in Colorado, mostly along the Front Range. So, I mean, people love Trader Joe's, and Aldi is supposed to be cheaper.
That's what I've heard too.
The regular things. So I think they'd probably go for it. I think also people are getting a little tired of King Soopers, Safeway. You hear a lot of complaints.
I wonder with just pricing in general, I looked it up. All the employees are not unionized, much like Walmart and Trader Joe's. King Soopers is a union shop. So I wonder if this would change anything for the landscape here. It's another competitor for King Soopers, like you said.
Right. And of course, they would still have to pay Colorado minimum wage,
Right.
which is more than it is in a lot of other states where Aldi's located. And especially if they're in Denver, they would be paying Denver minimum wage, which is second highest in the country. So Aldi, I can't imagine that they would change their prices here, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I'm also just curious to see how they do in general because, folks move here from all over the country. And when you come from somewhere else, you had a beloved grocery store wherever you lived. And I've heard a lot of folks talk about Aldi, but I'm like you, I've never been to it. So I don't know what it's
Wegman,
like.
There are a lot of places I have never been to, but I hear a lot about them.
Well, we'll see. I'm always so curious to see if people's shopping habits change. We know a lot of this is about location. If it's close to where you live, we'll see where these end up too. I'm very curious just thinking about the Safeway that just closed on Colorado Boulevard.
And come to think of it, there's a King Soopers that just closed right by my mother. I'm going to send a note to Aldi. I could use it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. If you have any thoughts we're always talking about grocery stores, so give us a call on the grocery store hotline, 720-500-5418. Are you an Aldi shopper? Should we be excited about this? What are you thinking about when it comes to your preferences for the grocery store? This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. As the backbone of this city for 165 years, they are Denver's most trusted. Denver Health is more than a hospital, more than a doctor, more than a treatment. They are a community. Denver Health is your neighbor, your champion. They offer emergency care, urgent care, and primary care, as well as healthcare in more than 130 other specialties. Most major insurance types are accepted. Oh, and did you know this summer, Denver Health is bringing care closer to home with the opening of the Denver Health Southeast Medical Center at the corner of Evans and Monaco. Serving adult patients, this new clinic will feature adult primary care and specialty care services. Denver Health, with you for life's journey. To find trusted healthcare near you, visit denverhealth.org/citycast for more information. That's denverhealth.org/citycast. Did you know CityCast Denver has a perks program? Every week, we're highlighting some standout deals from our favorite businesses in town to help you support local and save some money. It's a win-win. Here are some highlights from this week. Check out Meow Wolf's Adultiverse Space Rodeo on January 17th and experience the worlds of Meow Wolf Denver transformed into a 21 and up psychedelic party. Saddle up for an intergalactic adventure. Just use code GIDDYUP for $4.20 off an Adultiverse ticket. Offer available for redemption now through January 17th. Or what about Topo Designs? Just visit a Topo Designs retail store and mention this ad to receive 20% off your purchase. Some exclusions apply. Valid until February 1st. Looking for some fun? Check out Green Door and pre-order a curated cannabis box for your Denver trip. Includes edibles, snacks, and local accessories, ready for pickup near your stay. No stress, no lines, just a better trip. Use code DenverPerk for $10 off any experience box. To see a full list of participating businesses, just visit denver.citycast.fm/perks. It's a great way to check out new restaurants, shops, and events in the Mile High City without breaking your budget. And I love that for you. Interesting tidbit came out recently. Homicides in Denver dropped by nearly half in the last year, 48% fewer homicides in 2025 compared to 2024, according to Denver Police Department data. Homicides have been dropping since a high in 2021 when Denver had recorded 96 killings. 2025 saw only 37 homicides in Denver total, which is the fewest since 2014. I have to say, this was sort of a DPD press release, not a lot of information initially.
Although true. I mean, true that homicides are down. What you don't have is the context, which is, for the most part, homicides are down around the country.
Right.
So it's a trend that is a good national trend. If you go back, I think you go back to the so-called Summer of Violence in 93, that was almost as high as 2024 or 2023, 2024. So in general, the trend is down. We had been going down, went up again during the pandemic, went down again. But the real question is, how are other crimes going?
Right.
So property crimes might be up, although car theft is way down.
That was the other thing I saw
car
was
theft is way down.
Colorado State Patrol sent out a press release, I think today, that car thefts are down. 2025 marks the third consecutive year of reductions. And Colorado State Patrol says in the past year, Colorado saw the most drastic percentage reduction yet, with 34% decline compared to 2024, meaning it's down 61% since 2022. Do you think... And I'll share a link in the show notes. We talked to some folks at the Colorado State Patrol about their efforts to get this under control. But this is about the bigger conversation about, is Denver a safe place to live? How do you think these numbers fit into that?
Well, certainly
narrative?
Safer than it was a few years ago. And you're downtown a lot. I'm downtown. We've been going downtown for decades. I don't feel it's any less safe than at any other time. It is sometimes creepy because there are fewer people on the street sometimes than used to go. Although the most recent stats, I think, say it's 99% back for people coming and using downtown. That's not the number who are back in their offices.
So that's like people visiting versus
low.
The downtown worker crowd.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, again, safety is so much to me about your own personal experience and your own perceptions. And when you've had a crime committed against you, that really weighs into how you feel about safety. So I just wonder if these numbers will make a difference in this narrative, because it is something that we've seen. I mean, Do Better in Denver's bread and butter was the narrative that this is an unsafe place. I wonder if they're going to be trumpeting that this is becoming a safer place.
I somehow doubt that. I mean, one of the things you do see is that other areas that didn't have a lot of people on the street, didn't have a lot of homeless camping outside, are beginning to see it more than, and I know the Golden Triangle is very concerned.
Speaking of the Golden Triangle, you all reported last week that there was just a lot of conversation happening about issues of crime and I guess unhoused folks. What was the kerfuffle in Golden Triangle?
Well, this has been going on for a while because I know I talked to Councilman Chris Hines about it. People are concerned that the convenience store at 10th and Broadway, and I have to say those people, we used to be right across the street, were so nice and so accommodating. They have let people use their bathrooms. I mean, how unusual and good neighbor is that to let people use their bathrooms? But people were worried about drugs. They were worried about one person who had been Margot Hotel. Is a very small hotel that takes vouchers or apartment complex, and they'd found 2 drug dealers in the complex who'd come in on vouchers. So that they were worried the city wasn't vetting people well enough when they were giving them the all-in mile-high vouchers. So that was an issue. So concerns the city isn't listening to them, isn't taking care of things as much as it should. Interestingly, Benito, who was there, our reporter, said nothing came up about the shootings. This was all much more not the let-out crowd, but the people who are hanging out all the time in that part of town.
And when you say the let-out crowd, you're talking about the bars after 2 a.m.
You have the church. You have all those different clubs. Between 11th and Lincoln, 10th and Broadway, that's a real club epicenter, although not as much as it used to be.
Yeah, that's true, too. I think I feel like Regis, that owns a lot of those co-clubs, is sort of parsing off some of those.
He sold some of them, and although he's supposed to open another one at 11th and Lincoln, but I haven't seen it show up yet. The guy never stops. He's been opening clubs for my whole lifetime. Since the Deadbeat Club over by where I grew up. But it is interesting, though, that particular sort of epicenter or area where those clubs concentrate right up the street here from Westward, it does feel like it's calmed down a bit. Now, and we don't know if that shooting Thanksgiving Eve was related to clubs or not. Odds are good because that is a big partying night. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We don't think it was someone like shooting someone for a turkey dinner at from the convenience store, but probably related to the club. But I was going to say I was at Bar Standard maybe a year ago, and it was like going back in time in terms of the same kind of fight was happening out front after let out that I had seen in Lodo 20 years earlier. Ago. I mean, it's like people get drunk. This kind of stuff happens. It happens in Lodo. It happens in Rhino. Yeah. Well, we'll be watching this too. I'm so interested to see if these statistics, when it comes to things like dropping homicide rates and car thefts, if that means that folks start to
change the narrative for themselves, like it does feel safer. The other thing I thought was interesting really quick before we move on was Police Chief Ron Thomas said police officers are doing a better job at helping folks who have just been shot with like medical care to stay alive. So that's part of it, which I thought was interesting. But
Wow.
I was like, maybe they're just getting better training or something like that, just waiting for the EMTs to show up. They've got a lot to do. It's interesting. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have a listener comment. This episode is brought to you by Cozy Earth. What can I say? I love everything that Cozy Earth makes. From their viscose from bamboo sheets to their super soft pajama sets, and of course, the famous bubble cuddle blanket that my family fights over, these folks know their fabrics. And then Cozy Earth goes and tops it all again with their Luxe bath towels. Listen, these go beyond hotel towels, beyond spa towels. These towels are so soft, my 4-year-old was convinced they were actually blankets. Like he asked me, Mom, is this a blanket or a towel? And I was like, no, it's a towel. He was all matter of fact about it. He's like, Mom, these towels are so cozy. We can't puke on these ones. And I was like, okay. It's because these towels are crafted with a unique blend of cotton and viscose from bamboo using innovative zero-twist technology. Head to CozyEarth.com and use my code CozyDenver for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here on CityCast Denver. Give the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries into the cozy new year. It's time to hear from you, our brilliant and hilarious listeners, about the things you care about. Every Tuesday, we love to share comments or answer questions that come through the CityCast Denver hotline. This time I'm going to use his whole name. He's an author here, Mark Barnhouse, here in Denver. I was speaking recently about my memories of downtown Denver and like the bargain basement stores. And Mark wrote in to say the department store, in fact, had a bargain basement as well as Mady and F. You may not remember the Denvers because in about 1981 or so, they closed it and leased the space to the Gart brothers for a branch of their sporting goods store. This was on the 16th Street side of the basement. The 15th Street side retained its regular department store, goods, books, stationery, shoe repair, stuff like that. And I had also mentioned the Denver's restaurant. My mom thought it was on the 2nd or 3rd floor. It was actually on the 5th floor, according to Mark. And the Tea Room, which opened in November 1924, closed in 1987. And I just loved this sort of like walk back through memory lane because Mark Barnhouse has written some great books. The Denver is mentioned in his books, The Denver Dry Goods, Where Colorado Shopped with Confidence. And then he has another great book called Lost Department Stores of Denver. Did you have any memories of these spots?
Not only do I have memories, I remember when the 16th Street Mall came in 82 because we used to distribute our paper on 16th Street. And, so there were still the big movie theaters with the openings. And so we would drive up and down 16th Street just distributing the paper, which you can't do anymore, of course. I remember going to Newsteaders. I probably still have some clothes from the basement in their bargain
great
basement.
Local department store Newsteaders.
The hyperbolic paraboloid outside the May DNF. So we remember all of that.
Gosh, different. Just picturing it, I didn't make that connection either, that 81 was the year before it transformed from an auto-centric to the pedestrian mall.
So you would have people, and I'm from Chicago, so I was used to department stores, but the Western cruising concept.
Yes.
And people would come cruise 16th Street, go all the way down, turn around at Union Station and come back. And that was something we discovered in the late 70s.
I know. I was kind of sad to learn that had been happening there. And then obviously it became a pedestrian mall. But I participated in this in the later iterations in the late 90s, early 2000s along Larimer. Larimer was the cruising strip too. And then the racing was on Spear Boulevard. But did you have a favorite department store when you were growing up in Chicago?
Marshall Fields.
Oh, I always forget that's where.
So you would go to Marshall Fields and go to the Christmas tree, go down to the basement, and all the things you could buy at department stores.
So many different kinds of things. I was just talking about this. I was like, I remember the whole bedding floor and the beds, and like they would have whole living rooms set up.
You could buy fabric, and we would go buy fabric to make our groovy hippie outfits.
Sometimes I think about department stores, and I'm like, was that the 1800s? It feels like so long ago for a concept we just don't really have anymore.
No, now it's Costco.
This is true. Costco might be the closest thing. Well, we always love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts or comments on any past episodes, even going back, we've been doing this for almost 5 years now. We love to hear from you. 720-500-5418. Leave us a voicemail or send us a text and let us know what you're thinking about. Patty, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. Can I give a fast plug?
Please do. Oh, yes. You guys have something going on tonight.
Tonight, this very evening, we're doing a Westward members event, but call me. You can come. We're having Jason Hansen from History Colorado just talking about Colorado's 150 anniversary. We do these events like once a month, but if you want to get involved in the history, it's going to be a beautiful night out.
Is it
Come
here
on over.
at the
It's
Westward
at the Westward
offices?
office, but if you RSVP and you're a member, we'll give you tickets to History Colorado so you can go see the show in advance.
Oh, cool.
Otherwise, you can just come.
Awesome. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Awesome. Thanks, Patty.
Thanks.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell Aldi CEO Addie McGrath about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later.